Hello, my name's Dave Piper and this is Exploring Photography. As a photographer, we're forever chasing the light. Some days we get really bright light, like high contrast light, and we would call that hard light. And there's some challenges in working with hard light, mainly due to the dynamic range of digital cameras. Unlike the eye, your eye would have a dynamic range in terms of digital photography of like 14 to 20 stops. A high-end digital camera with one of the best sensors, you'd get a range of about 14 to 10 stops, and then kind of the less you pay, obviously, that goes down from there. So kind of 8 to 10 for a mid-range camera. So what is dynamic range? And how do you control it? I guess that's the subject of using hard light. Now, what essentially we're talking about is contrast. Hard light means contrast. Contrast is when you have areas of your image that are super bright and super dark at the same time in the same frame. And that's going to be something that's going to naturally happen when you have very, very bright sunlight. You're going to get these super hard shadows. And those super hard shadows are usually going to be contrasted with super bright light as well. When you're tasked to create a photograph, you don't always get to choose the type of light that you're going to be working with, especially when you're a mixed light or ambient light photographer, or natural light photographer, I guess is also a commonly used term. Some days you get bright light or you get hard light. In the UK, we mainly get cloud cover and that sort of thing. So we don't get the opportunity to create these great high contrast images that many other parts of the world get to do all the time. So what I would say is if you're given hard light, go ahead, use it, create some great contrasty images, because you're not in control of the light and you might as well use what you're given. Obviously, there's different ways of creating the images that you're looking to make, and you obviously have to work within the sort of style and genre and look that you're accustomed to doing. One of the things I tend to do a lot is have an additive style approach to my lighting. So I'm usually working with ambient light to a point. I usually just underexpose the camera by a tiny bit and then use some additional lighting or additive lighting. So this could be strobe or constant or bounce light back into the image to fill some of those shadows, to soften out the contrast, or to add some light to make some character style lighting. But that usually requires having A, bright lights, or B, some interesting camera settings. So HSS is a term that you will hear quite a lot of, and that's when you're using really fast sync speeds, when you want to have a shutter speed above what your camera normally would sync with. So for example, with the Fujifilm cameras, I can sync that flash all the way through whatever the mechanical range is given. I think it's 8,000th of a second. I can still sync flash to. Now, I do need very powerful lights, or I use speed lights mainly to do that. I usually have to have them on quite high, but using techniques like HSS are a really good way of combating bright, natural light. The other great thing about shooting with a bright sun or some hard light conditions is it's quite easy to introduce or to work with camera flares. I love using flares as often as I can. So whenever there's a sunny day or a bright summer's day, shooting directly into the sun or having the sun just out of the frame lets you have all of that milky kind of wash come across the camera. If you have the sun kind of just say for this image with Elle and the car, we've got the sun just kind of firing past her, and it's creating this really cool vintage effect with all the kind of colors coming out of the reflection. It's actually the eternal reflections of all the different lenses stacked up inside the lens. That's what's giving these really cool filtered effects. But I think they look really, really cool. They can look really smart as well. So for example, on these two wedding images, you can see how the natural flare has been kind of induced to really make these images look characterful and soft and warm. I think it's a really, really cool effect. So when you've got a bright background, experiment with flare. It looks absolutely spectacular when done right. When it comes to setting up your camera for your picture, there's one thing that you want to have a think about, and that's what sort of photographer you are. Now, let me break this kind of down. I can explain how I approach camera settings. I see the camera as that captures the available light. So that's my ambient light that the camera gets. We're comfortable with that. And we also kind of, I guess, comfortable with the idea of additive light. So that's when we add more light to the scene than what is normally there. So that's an additive lighting. But then there's also a way that we can take light away from the scene, and that's using things like filters, grad filters, ND filters. We can change the type of light there, that's circular polarizers, and the whole kind of filter world. So you've got kind of three aspects of controlling the light through the camera. You've got the ambient light in the middle, you've got positive light, that's the light that you're adding, and you've got negative light, that's the light that you're going to be taking away. Now, camera settings are going to dictate on where you fall within there. So for example, this image is an image that's taken on a Fujifilm camera with an electronic shutter, 10,000th of a second, when that's allowing me to shoot f1.2, which is, you know, and this is natural light. So I'm shooting 100 ISO f1.2 at 10,000th of a second. Now that's really fast. Most cameras have a shutter speed sync of a maximum shutter speed of 4,000th of a second. Some cameras will go up to 8,000th of a second if you're using a DSLR, like a slightly more pro version of a DSLR. Do you even have pro cameras anymore? You just have cameras, don't you? But yeah, so if you're shooting with a camera with an electronic shutter, like the Fujifilm cameras give you the option of both, mechanical, of which flash will sync to, and then electronic shutter speeds, of which flash won't sync to. So all of that you kind of have to bear in mind. But at the end of the day, you just have to think about the fact that there's three things to think about. There's negative light, filters taking light away. There's the ambient light, of which the camera settings will allow you to get, and then there's additive light. That's when you're adding light back. Let's talk a little bit more about this additive section. Okay, so I am a big fan of HSS. So basically HSS is using fast sync speeds. So I guess a fast sync speed would be anything kind of 250th of a second faster. I know some cameras, like the old Hasselblad, would sync at 500th of a second. Most cameras these days will sync about the 180 to 250th of a second. Using HSS allows you to push that shutter speed faster. So in essence, what you're able to do is bring your ambient light down by using the shutter speed to bring the ambient light down, and then you're adding more light in using flash. So that's HSS. I guess you'll recap, you're bringing the ambient down. So if you're shooting with a super bright sunny day, you can lower your settings. You can have a more suitable shutter speed, you can have a more suitable f-stop and a more suitable ISO for what you're looking for, and still getting a nice composition. So that's additive light and high speed sync. So let's talk about taking light away. Let's talk about the filters. So grad filters I would use, and ND filters are very commonly used for controlling bright, hard light. What they allow you to do is again, change your settings so you can shoot apertures that you wish to use or ISOs that you wish to use, and find a more happy medium setting to kind of neutralize some of that heavy contrast. One of the filters that are very commonly used on bright sunny days are grad filters. So what tends to happen when we're taking a picture of, say for example, this background here, the shadows underneath the trees are going to be a lot darker than the sky is. An ND grad is basically a filter that starts at one end and then fades out to the other. So we can darken one area of the image and it'll slowly come through and get brighter and brighter and brighter. So evening out some of that contrast. And if we remember to what I was saying in the very first instance about dynamic range, what we're looking to do with using filters and using flash is crunch all of that dynamic range that's naturally in the image into a range that fits eventually, I guess, on a screen or that's printable on paper. That's the art of making a really good exposure using the principles of negative light, ambient light, and additive light. Two sides to hard light. There's man-made light, and then there's ambient light. I'm not sure why man-made lives on the right and ambient lives on the left, but however, it's the type of light that's there. It's in the UK, it's quite rare that we get a hard light from the sun. It's usually quite diffused from clouds, because clouds, England, literally, they're very good friends. I guess a lot of places in the world, hard light is the more prevailing way. So anyway, the bit I'm trying to get at is that hard light isn't necessarily an ambient thing or a studio thing. These studio shots are all hard light, and you can see how hard the light is by the sort of shadow that's created. A lot of these images have the wall quite close, so you can see that hard line from the shadow. Or sometimes the light is kind of coming across the face and you're getting those hard shadows across the facial features or the arms, or specifically like this image with Kate. There's a lot of contrast naturally in the image, and that's because the lighting types that we're using are quite harsh or hard light. Okay, so yes, you can have ambient hard light, or you can make your own hard light. Okay. Right, let's start again.
Really?
Hello and welcome again to another awful behind the scenes production video thing. This is Stephanie Rebello.
Hi. No, not my face.
It's close up. Wow, I'm really attractive.
You're going grey.
Going grey. No, I've cut them all off. They were there. Anyway, so yeah, you went down to see Mike Brown.
I did. Well, I went to see my mum, and because my mum lives down that end of the country, went and hung out with Mike for a day, which was good fun.
Yeah. So so you did a video. Sorry, hang on. We're not here to promote Mike's video channel.
We did a couple of videos actually, but one of them's been released so far, which you can check out here.
Sorry, no.
Yes.
We are not here to promote Mike Brown's bloody YouTube chat.
Ooh, it's really dark. Ooh, scary.
Anyway, yes, we're not here to promote Mike Brown's YouTube channel. It's not like he even needs help promoting it.
You're just jealous.
I'm not jealous of Mike Brown's videos. Mike Brown, I am far more handsome.
Do you hear that, Mike?
Far more handsome. Anyway, so yes, tell me what you got up to.
Well, it's kind of a secret because some of the videos haven't been released yet. But the one that has been released.
You went down to see Mike Brown and made secret videos.
No.
Where am I going to find these? Where am I going
yet.
to find these secret
You're
videos?
So strange. No, Mike's done this really cool. During lockdown, he's trying to get people up and actually using their cameras, and so
cool.
He's done a really cool series of different topics, and you have to interpret that topic and shoot what you think suits the subject
Okay, sorry,
line.
hang on. Can you just stop? We're not here to promote Mike's bloody channel.
I don't know what to say to you.
What? This is my channel.
Well, if you want to see the video that's released so far, you can check it out here. But
Okay. There you go.
Good fun.
Okay, well, there you go. Yes, actually, yes. We are here to promote Mike's channel because he has more people that like him. So clearly he makes better videos.
But he does. Yeah.
He does.
He does.
Anyway, so yes, we're off to, we did go and try and find a pub. We had a walk around the university.
Yeah, I'm sad.
Pub was closed.
Closed.
So anyway, right. Ta-ra, bye-bye.
Bye.